Hi, Julie Jones from SSP Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear. About 20 years ago, I knew. You ever been in a situation where you just know? Well, I knew. I knew something wasn't right. And it wasn't long after I knew that I found out that I was, in fact, right. This was one of the times that I wasn't happy about being right. I like to be right, but not in this situation. 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it gives me an opportunity to remind you that mammograms save lives. I am certain that a mammogram saved mine, and that you or those you love should be sure that you follow the protocol of having a mammogram every year. So I hope that if you haven't had one in a while, or you haven't had one yet, or you're not of that age, you'll think about it when you get to that age, or if you love someone who is of that age, that you encourage them and ensure that that's something that they're keeping up with. Because I knew that something wasn't right, and I knew sitting and waiting for the results of my mammogram that I had breast cancer. I was 32, and no one in my family had had it, and it was a shock, as you can imagine. But this time of the year always gives me an opportunity to be so grateful, and so that I'm so lucky that I caught it early, or we caught it early, and I had great doctors and great family support, and I had a great assistant coach at the time, who's the head coach at Cleveland State now. I had great athletes. I had such great support. I'm so grateful for all those things. I also can reflect on what I learned and all of the tough things that I came through during that time. I remember saying specifically, I've always thought I was tough, but that was the time that I got to see if I really was tough. And this gives me an opportunity to think about how uncertainty affects us and how we can allow it to affect us in good ways, or how we can manage it a little bit better so that we come out on the other side having learned lessons, having performed better, having better relationships, having maybe better health. So let's talk about some lessons. I was really lucky that I got to learn so much through this time. I also had the opportunity to watch my coach go through something very similar my senior year, and I was able to watch her weather her storms with grace and all the other things that we're going to talk about. But these 5 lessons that I learned, I think, are very appropriate for all of us who are constantly walking into uncertainty. Every single time that we sign up to go compete or to go do something that's out of our comfort zone, these things can come into play. Lesson number 1, it's okay to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is not something that is like at the forefront of who I am. But I will tell you this, during this time, 20 years ago, I had to be vulnerable. I told my team I was scared. I told my family they already knew I was scared. They were more scared than I was, actually. I told my assistant that I was scared, and she was scared too. But I thought showing that side of what was going on was really important, because at some point, some of the girls on that team will walk through something exactly like this. And I wanted them to see the other side. It's just like when my mom died suddenly. I remember walking around saying, I can't believe that people walk around feeling like this, so broken, so grief-stricken, because no one talks about that stuff. Everybody loses their parents, but nobody knows the pain that comes along with it, because we don't talk about it to other people, because we're not willing to be vulnerable. But showing these kids that I was afraid, but still walking forward with courage, I thought was really important. And author and researcher Brene Brown talks about vulnerability. That's her thing. And she says that vulnerability is uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. And she ties it directly to courage. The amount of courage that you have is directly related to your ability to be vulnerable. You're overcoming, putting yourself out there and saying, you know what, even though, here we go. That's a good way to put it. I like that. Even though, here we go. So being vulnerable, understanding that it's okay not to have all the courage in the world every single second, but understanding too that vulnerability shows the reality of what's out in front of you. And reality is what we are dealing with. We're not pretending that this isn't scary. We're not pretending that we feel out of control. We're not pretending on those things. We're trying to talk about it or admit it so that we can figure out what to do next. That's it. That's it. That's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is resilience is a daily and hard practice. Resilience is not a one-time feat. Here we go. It's constant work. And being resilient, and there's a link in this blog for you to take your team to if you want them to do a little resilience scale. It's called a brief resilience scale, and get them to sort of think about how do they bounce back. So Webster defines resilience as this: the capacity to withstand or recover quickly from difficulties, or toughness, right? Or the second definition is of a substance, the ability of a substance or an object to spring back into shape, elasticity. I think both of these things are important. Think about it. We've got to be able to withstand whatever it is that we're coming up against, and we have to be able to bounce back and get back into shape when we are out of shape. Because that happens. We get bent out of shape all the time. How quickly, I call it the gap, how quickly can we get back? It's interesting. This resilience that was drawn out of me during this time in my life when I was having surgery after surgery, trying to figure out what to do next, deciding what I'm going to do, what my body's going to look like after the surgeries, all this stuff that I was going through, that seemed like easier than the resilience I needed sometimes coaching on the field. In fact, you may remember a story I've told of Dr. Ziegler coming up to me and saying, you know why you lost? And then she told me it was because of me, because I was not being resilient. I wasn't withstanding what was going on. I wasn't bouncing back. I was just getting bent out of shape. So it's interesting that this is a choice. This resilience literally is a choice. Are we going to manage what's in front of us and bounce back when we get bent out of shape? Because we're going to get bent out of shape. It's part of the deal. But what are we going to do? Can we withstand it? Can we face it? Can we carry that load and still move on? That's the question. That's resilience. And it's a skill. None of us are born resilient fully. It's a skill, and we have to keep working on it. And every time we go out to compete, it's a great time to make that choice to decide that I'm going to bounce back. I'm going to withstand this because I know that it's in the end, it's going to make me better and tougher, period. That's lesson number 2. Lesson number 3 is sometimes we have to give up a little bit of control. Oh boy. I like to describe college coaches as people who think they have control over a group of 18 to 22-year-olds. Yeah, right. But coaches are control freaks. And let me tell you, when I was going through this experience, I had to surrender some control. I had decide what kind of treatment I was going to take. Things change. Sometimes symptoms change. Sometimes we can't do the things we want to do. I remember laying on the couch thinking, oh gosh, I want to clean that, I want to shine that floor up. Because around me, when I feel out of control, my car has to be clean, my house has to be clean, everything has to be clean when I feel out of control. Why? Because it gives me a sense of making something certain that's uncertain. And I couldn't do those things because I'm laying on the couch, recovering, whatever it might be. But sometimes we have to give up a bit of control. And this illusion of control really weighs us down. We have to figure out what can we control or what can we influence and go that route and give up this other stuff, because truthfully, worrying about all the things we can't control are not allowing us to use our energy where our energy is needed. But this illusion of control is not real. There are so many things that are out of control, especially as coaches. But we like control, and that's how we live. But truthfully, this is what we can control. And we need to remember that sometimes. And sometimes we have to give up some things in order to be able to grab our energy back, or conserve our energy, or focus our energy on what really needs us, what's important now. That is vital, right? Number 4 lesson, mindfulness and mental performance tools matter. I don't use the word mindfulness very much because I'm afraid it has a sort of weak connotation, and we know we're too tough for that in athletics or in leadership. But if you think about what mindfulness is, it's really toughness. It's our ability to pull back, to stand firm, and to notice what's going on around us. and take in what we need to take on. That's really mindfulness, to be where we are when we need to be there. That's toughness. Because there's so many times we really don't want to be where we want to be, or we're worried about what's going to happen, or we're worried about what already happened. But being mindful means being present and taking care of the here and now. This saved me through this whole experience. You might remember me saying that I would spend 3 days a week in little bits and pieces down in Dr. Ziegler, our sports psychologist's office, going through mental rehearsal or visualization and boxing the cancer out of my body. And that gave me control. It took me to a place where I felt comfortable and consistent, and it helped me with my breathing, which we know the benefits of that. But this mindful time is so vital, and we blow it off because we're so hurried to get to the next thing, or we're so worried to get to the next thing. But using mindfulness in uncertainty can help us see what we need to see and take some of the uncertainty out of it, because we can make a plan, or we can just manage what's right in front of us, which makes us feel a whole lot better. Lesson number 5, mental toughness isn't always what we think it is. I read this quote on what mental toughness is, or this definition, in a book called Focus for Rugby, and I want you to listen to this just for a second. We throw these terms out all the time. You got to be confident, be mentally tough, but we never really define it. And we're grasping for what this looks like, and it's really not what we think it is sometimes. But here is a definition that I want you to listen to here. People who are mentally tough have complete self-belief in their ability, an unshakable faith that they are in complete control of their destiny, and a conviction that they will be relatively unaffected by setbacks. Who in the heck do you know that's that? Because I can tell you this, I was not in complete control. I did not totally believe that I was going to be able to affect the outcome, because there's a lot of people who get my diagnosis that don't get to affect the outcome. They don't have the outcome that I had. What really is mental toughness? Is mental toughness this awesome bravado that makes us think that we are certain of what's going to happen? We are certain that we can get through this. That is crap. Yes, there are times that we are certain, but there are a lot of times that we are not. There are a lot of times that we are in control, and there are a lot of times that we are not. And we have to be real about that. What is real mental toughness? Maybe we need to help those we lead, the kids we lead, the people we lead, understand what mental toughness really is, and let them in on the secret that mental toughness is looking at what's in front of you and figuring out how you're going to manage it. That's it. It's looking at what's in front of you and figuring out how you're going to manage it. I did not feel in control all the time. I did not feel like I could totally be certain of what my destiny was going to be. But I knew this. I knew that I could be prepared for my appointments. I knew that I could be prepared physically. I knew that I could push my body as far as I could. Sometimes I pushed it a little too far, and then I'd be laying in bed crying about how stupid I was. Yeah, okay. But the bottom line is that we control what we can control. We figure out what's right in front of us. We do what we can with what we have, where we are. That is toughness. Think about it. Some of the toughest people in the world, Mother Teresa comes to mind, aren't out there with this big mental toughness, throwing it out there, bravado. They are taking one small step forward in the face of adversity. And then they're building momentum, and they get knocked back, and then they come right back and figure out how to manage to look. They look at what's in front of them. That takes toughness. They're real about it. They plan, and they act on it. That is toughness. We all oftentimes know what to do. It takes toughness and courage to actually do it. So it's looking at what's right in front of us and figuring out how to manage it. That is toughness. And if we really want to weather storms, if we get this diagnosis, or we're facing this uncertainty, or we're going into this game, or we're just not sure, all of these things, lessons 1 through 4, help build that toughness. We've got to understand that vulnerability is okay. I don't know what to do. All right, let me help you. Or I don't know what to do. What do I need to do? Now I start to look for answers. What can I do? Right? Then the resilience, that day-to-day building of overcoming something just a little bit more the next day. Bouncing back, withstanding something new, getting out of our comfort zone. And then thinking about our mindfulness and adding that in. What is your mental toughness tool? What's your mental performance tool? What's your power move that you can work on to help you face uncertainty and manage it better? These are the tools that we need to help us be more mentally tough. All right? These aren't just survival tactics. They're building blocks to build a battle-readied mindset so that when those uncertainties come, we can weather those storms. I hope you never have to deal with a cancer diagnosis, but problems are indiscriminate. Something will come that is going to be really hard. And some weeks there's hard stuff at every turn. How will you manage it? All right, we've got 5 tools here. Number 1, vulnerability is okay. Number 2, resilience is a daily practice. Number 3, sometimes you have to give up control. And number 4, our mental tools matter. And mental toughness, redefine it for those you lead. It'll help them realize that they can be tough no matter what comes. So, encourage those you love to take care of their bodies. Use the great science that's out there. Have a mammogram, because it's much better to figure out what's going on early. I am proof of that. And I wish all of you that are fighting any kind of fight the courage and the strength and the control and the resilience and all those things to help you weather the storms that come. Until next week, have a great week.